began with Pius VI, who wanted to bring actually modern art to the Vatican. So the Vatican Art Collection, which has great Greek antiquities and Catholic art, he wanted to bring religious art, modern art to the Vatican. So he had this vision. He got a guy to go and work with some leaders in New York and California in order to bring some works to the Vatican. So in doing that, though, we realized, well, okay, we got modern art collection, but we also need to restore some paintings and some other things. And so that's kind of how the patrons began, all with just something like that, just a little bit of that endeavor of Paul VI. But it's morphed. I mean, it's really has been an outreach to bring Catholics into this mission of the Vatican Museums, but it started also with Bill Wilson. I know Ambassador Wilson, he was ambassador to the Holy See with Ronald Reagan era. About the time as well the Sistine Chapel was being refurbished. So he was in California. Monsignor out of New York was involved. And since then it's slowly been growing throughout the 50 states and Canada and into Europe. And we have about 2,000 patrons throughout the world and about 25 chapters throughout the world. 13 years ago, when I was asked to go to the Vatican, or called to the Vatican to head up a sports office. It was something John Paul II wanted after the Jubilee of 2000. He wanted an office for sport, really because he wanted the church to be more a part of the world of sport. And I was thinking, well, why a legionary? And I said, well, why not? I think more, I mean, not to compare ourselves with diocesan priests, but certainly our mission is much more focused in that individual formation, that outreach to leaders of society. So yeah, I think it was a beautiful fit, right, to be there, starting that and working with sports leaders around the world. And now, in a similar way, called to this mission, which a legionary has actually been at the helm for the last 12 years. So, and before that, a Dominican. So you see, it's maybe not something for any diocesan priest. This is something that is really kind of focused on a special mission of reaching out to people who have a love for art, sometimes business leaders, sometimes just leaders of culture. Right? And it's not even exclusive to Catholics. We have Jewish and non-Christians who as well are part of this mission because they love beauty. And so it's a great opportunity for a legionary to really be on the cutting edge of culture. Even previous legionaries who have been working in the office, they say it's been a great way to meet some people they never really thought maybe they'd have a chance to get close to. And in doing so, very much share an affinity with our mission. So I think although the main mission obviously is to protect and preserve the patrimony of art and beauty in the Vatican, it's also an opportunity really to evangelize, right? To be leaven, to be the salt of the earth, even among lovers of art, among people who perhaps this might be their first experience of the Catholic Church as well. So it's been very exciting to be a part of something that's really on the cutting edge. So before being called to the Vatican the second time, I was working in Atlanta, Georgia. And what was I doing in Atlanta? I was basically a spiritual director, a retreat director. So I was giving retreats on the weekends, silent retreats, spiritual exercise of St. Ignatius, and doing a lot of spiritual direction. And also heading up one of our communities. I was superior of one of our communities in Atlanta. So very fulfilling work, loved it. I wasn't looking to be changed, and then God has plans, right? And so he, as Pope Francis says, surprises us. So I'm surprised to be, again, back in the Vatican, working for the Holy Father. So I studied in Rome 3 years, and then I was also came to Rome for ordination. I was ordained in Rome during the Jubilee year. And then 2004 to 2012, I was working in the Pontifical Council for the Laity with the sports office. So for 8 years, I was working at the sports desk, or the church and sport office, as they call it. And like I said, that was also unique to be doing something that was not your natural thing, right? Even within the Vatican, it was kind of on the cutting edge because a lot of Vatican offices are very much static in the sense that you're in the office every day and maybe it's like a think tank, but it's very static, whereas the sports office, was traveling the world and doing a lot of things with sports leaders around the world. So it was much more, I would say, it wasn't certainly an office job by no means. And so very exciting to be even with sports leaders, with athletes themselves. And yes, an academic side, but also a cultural side of really trying to impact culture with Christian values. When I worked at the Vatican before, I was in a different office, which was outside of the Vatican walls. It was still a beautiful palace, right? But it really is amazing. I work in the third, what they call the Terza Loggia, which is just 2 stories down from the papal palace, right? And so it is exciting. It's beautiful. I mean, just to walk to work, to see these frescoes, these arched, vaulted ceilings filled with frescoes. I can stop at the Pauline Chapel if I want, the Pope's Chapel, and make a visit, or I can go to the Sistine Chapel if I want on my way to work. So not a bad way to get to work. And then to hear the Swiss Guard click their heels every time you go by. They do that out of respect for any priest. So every time you walk by a Swiss Guards, they're clicking their heels. And it's just a nice shot in the arm as well to remind me of my own dignity as a priest. Thank you. Thank you, Gail. Thank you for your work, and thank you for coming to Rome and seeing a little bit more about my little new world here in the patron of the arts. So God bless you. Okay.